As any showrunner will tell you, creating a television pilot is an incredibly tricky task. That first episode is an unwinnable balancing act where they not only have to win you over with the premise, but also introduce a half-dozen disparate characters. Every so often, a series will manage to get off with a running start. But at the same time, some of the best shows of all time suffered from weak beginnings. I hope that's the case with Celestial Tier: Demon's Revenge, the brand new episodic role-playing game from White Guardian Studios. Using a throwback look, this turn-based role-playing game feels like a mashup between beat-em-ups from the 1980s and Xenogears. It has a ton of promise, but the execution left me disappointed. In this first episode, players fight through two different storylines that are designed to ease people into the new sci-fi fantasy world and the combat. It sets up two parallel stories, each led by a different protagonist caught in the middle of a larger conflict. Hasfall is a planet being torn apart by prejudice, where humans have turned against the natives and routinely hunt them down to honor their gods. The two characters we're introduced to in this episode come from different sides of that divide. Jagan was born with nobility and joined the Ridders to protect humanity against those monstrous natives. Sen, on the other hand, lives far away from humanity, haunted by the memories of her past. Fearing that she'll always be hunted, Sen is trying to come to grips with her demonic abilities and survive on her own apart from society. Playing through these two stories gives a better overview of the larger picture, something I hope will help Celestial Tier stand out in future episodes. No matter who you choose, you'll largely be traveling the same locations and fighting familiar enemies. This first episode focuses on forests filled with dangerous wolves and caverns covered in poisonous snakes, standard fare for old 16-bit role-playing games. The combat is also the same, giving us a unique twist on the usual turn-based battles. Similar to Xenogears on the PlayStation, Demon's Revenge has players customizing their own combos. All characters are given a set of combo points to spend across 3 different attacks: light, medium, and hard. Initially, this means that our fighters can pair a hard and light combo, 2 medium strikes, or a 4-hit flurry of light attacks. But not all combos are created equal, and you'll find that some attacks work better on certain enemies. What's more, there are a number of special combos that will unleash magical attacks for extra damage. From the retro-themed visuals to the combo-based combat, I like a lot of what Celestial Tier is doing. I see nothing but potential when I look at the few hours packed into this first episode. It's clearly inspired by games I love, and the 16-bit style won me over almost immediately. But just like Seinfeld, this debut episode is a little rough. A big part of the problem comes from the repeated locations and enemies used in both storylines. While it's cool to see events play out from 2 different points of view, I wish there was more variety between stories. There are a few big differences between paths, but there aren't enough to keep Celestial Tier from quickly becoming repetitive. The game's weird difficulty spikes certainly don't help. The game will lull you into a false sense of security by throwing simple enemies at our heroes, only to pull the rug out from under our feet by throwing frustrating bosses into the mix. It's common to see a boss kill off a party member before they even have a chance to fight back. Worse yet, you won't even be able to grind for experience points, since there are only a finite amount of enemies and the game has a funny way of trapping you into tough sections. It's also a shame that the character options are so limited. While there's loot to find, it's not the typical weapons and armor. Instead of finding a new sword, players will pick up items to attach to their equipment. This certainly does a good job of increasing stats, but it isn't as satisfying as swapping out shields and amulets. And don't expect to shop for the coolest items, because apparently Hasfall doesn't have any retailers. I'm hoping the next episode will add in some of these missing elements. I can see the potential of the series, but this first episode is too repetitive and slowly paced. Instead of feeling like the first act of an epic story, Celestial Tier: Demon's Revenge came across more like a demo, or worse, a proof of concept. Hey, thanks for watching my review. While I had mixed thoughts on this first episode, I'm determined to see it through. However, next time I'll be digging deeper into the story, so expect some light spoilers for those not keeping up. Anyway, tune in tomorrow for our big holiday announcement. We'll be posting a new episode every day between Thanksgiving and Christmas Day, so you won't want to miss that. Do me a favor and click the subscribe button and support what we're doing here. Until then.